Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Please welcome my lovely guests. I had to put them above me because they know more about sigils than I know. And do you like how I said they know more, not that you're experts?
Definitely. I will never claim to be an expert at anything. That gets you
Same.
that gets you into hot water faster than anything else.
Sure does.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and of course, we have Chris, Barely Balanced Tarot, and we have
Welcome.
Zane from Tarot Token Witchery.
Hey.
And this is our magic tool talk about sigils. And I'm waiting for the notice to pop. Did it, did the notice actually pop? I don't know.
Um, I didn't get one.
I can't
I haven't
I
gotten a
didn't see one.
notice yet. So, but anyhow, we're just going to we're just certainly going to go through and um to be very clear, Chris is not driving in his car.
I am not.
So he's not driving.
I am parked safely in my driveway at home. It's just the best place I had to do this today.
So, and and I love it. For entertainment purposes only, do not drive while actually creating sigils. We do not recommend that.
At least
So,
pull over. At least pull over. Better yet, make your sigils on your car before you leave. I have
There
a
you go.
protective I have a protective room on my car always. So
yes, yes. And we will get into that. So let's say hi to some people, and because I'm very very excited to be talking about this. So Jamie, Wandering Mountain Bardic Path is here. Hello.
Hey,
Jamie,
Jamie.
Calla Lily is here, and bless Calla Lily for actually sending or posting a question on the community tab. Liz, I have that captured. Oh, now the notice just popped. So
Mine
we
too.
I have that. We will answer it. So thank you very much.
yeah,
Lisa
very good questions.
Stevens, yes, very good questions. And speaking of questions, let me take a breath because I'm like, hi, Lisa. Glad to have you here. Yes, everybody sip, sip. Mm. Oh, Zane is here. Hello, Zane. Glad to have you here.
This guy.
Zane's here.
Zane's here. Oh, look, and Richie is here of Longman Tarot.
Hi, Richie.
And on Friday, I am having a birthday celebration for Longman Tarot on my channel. It is at 2:30 Eastern. Please note that. And so we'll be celebrating his birthday. So feel free to join us. Maybe there'll be spankings, maybe not. I don't know. He's across the pond,
One can
so
hope.
one can hope. Oh my goodness.
Maybe some
Um,
folks will at least pull their wands out.
that's a whole different show. We've already done that. So
We keep
uh,
circling back to that one. So
we do. And oh goodness. Okay, so we have Laura here, backyard naturalist. Deb H is here. Deb H, we have your questions tagged, so we will be able to share them. Pamela is here. Hello, Pamela. Thank you. Um, Robin is here. Toadstool Tarot,
hey,
and
Robin.
Robin. Oh, and by the way, gentlemen, I may get a package delivered because I am expecting a couple of things coming through.
All right.
That sounds horrible, doesn't it? Um, yes, I'm having a package delivered.
Sounds like a fun day to me, especially when a
Goodness.
couple of things are coming through.
Yes. Jonathan Daly is here. And by the way, Jonathan
Jonathan.
Daly is I am on Jonathan's Daly's channel tomorrow, and we're doing an I'll show you mine. And it is on Jonathan Daly's YouTube channel at 2 p.m. Eastern. So it's part of my channel takeover series. I have no, you know. So yeah, Chris, I will be doing a channel takeover for you, and Zane, if you need that, whatever. I'm just being silly.
Always.
Patsy T Intuitive, thank you for being here. Aiden is here. Aiden learns tarot, and by the way, um, I'm going to be on Aiden's channel in
Oh, awesome.
June. I sort of weaseled myself into that. However, my people are still working it out with his people, and it's all good. Story.
Lots of new people for me. It's been
Yes,
a while since
this.
I've even been on a live, so
And Chris, why are we waiting?
I have no excuse. I have no excuse.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And by the
I
way,
think
if you
you
would,
need to do that channel takeover for me and just get it started again.
dude, we can totally do that. We can totally do that. Um, Courtney, stories, lore, and more with Erie's, which I believe, Courtney, and packaged delivered. I know your limits. Package responsibly. Ben from Beneficial Tarot is here. Hello, Ben.
Hey,
Hey, Ben.
Bashful Ben.
Oh yes. And Ben wants to know where you're going, Chris.
Well, after this, I'm going to go meet a guy who's just flown in from Ohio for dinner, and he's going to be here a week, and we'll see what happens.
That is not me. I think Ben was okay. That's that could be TMI, but
Oh, I'm sorry. I
congratulations.
thought he asked where I was going in my car.
Well, yes. So yes, it's Courtney. Great. Oh, look, here she is. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Kelly, it was fun last Friday on your channel. Um, Oil that bike chain, Gerald. The Tarot bike is in the neighborhood again. Yeah, I get you. I get you. And it is hopeful that dinner is ready. Oh, nice. I hope it goes well. So, if you, while you are here, do have questions for us, please put them in caps because I would like to be able to capture as many of those as possible. Right now, this is planned for just one. The contracts that these gentlemen have signed is for one video. However, if they're popular, maybe we can get them to do a second one. Um,
I would
that
say it would
being
be really easy to do a second one because there's so much. The technique of sigils is pretty simple, but what you can do with it is just, I mean,
Unlimited.
yeah, unlimited, really unlimited.
yes, and I know you were talking about how do a sigil in your car or on your car before you leave, and the answer to that is yes. You can do that, and so we do have some examples. So Kristen Louise is here. Hi, Kristen Louise.
Hey.
Hey, Kristen.
Um, okay, so I am Magic Tool Talk. Chris, you want me to give the brief thing about why this has happened?
Yes, absolutely. I want you to
Okay.
do that because I don't.
And by the way, I have to share, I went to a doctor's appointment to have my eyes checked. Regular thing, everything's fine. But I'm going to embiggen myself. Should I do that just to be silly?
If a guy says he's embiggening himself, I will never say no.
If this is not a staring contest, I do not know what is. So anyhow, um, all right, let's put that back. Oh, Chris is on the bottom. I'm going to leave you there, Chris.
Okay,
Um,
that's fine.
Deb Aquarius Owl is here.
Hey, Debbie.
And Deb H, I think you don't suck at sigils. I think you may need a bit of advice because you can do, and my guests, please let me know. You can certainly overcomplicate sigils, and you can be an overachiever with sigils. But really, as Chris, I'm going to mute you for a second. Wow, I have the power. I shut Chris off. How lucky am I? Okay, you're back. You're back.
Sorry, I
I'm,
didn't
I,
realize you could hear the crinkling of the stuff there. But
we
yeah,
can hear everything.
you've got my mute button. That's a pretty impressive power. A lot of people would love to have that.
And for the right price, I can make it happen. So, looking at this, looking at Jonathan loves making sigils in the sand. Yes. And Robin Toadstool Terra has put in here, I love Zane's videos on sigil making, but without voiceover or subtitles, I'm clueless. I don't understand what he's doing. Um, there are links to all of my guests below and a link to Zane's sigil making. What is that called, Zane? I've forgotten what you
Uh,
call it.
Sigil crafting with Zane. And can
Sigil
I
crafting.
say something to Robin real quick?
Yes, you can.
So in the most recent video, I didn't do this yet, but I plan on doing it. But in the previous couple videos that I did in that series, I did do I forget what they call it, but where you can have sections of your video titled different things. And for each section that for each portion that I do of the sigil crafting, I title it so that you know what I'm doing.
Oh, nice.
So if you put the mouse like over the scroll bar, it'll tell you what portion I'm on and what it is that I'm doing. Or you can just look in the description and it'll tell you as well. I
Beautiful.
have it listed by time.
Beautiful. Wow, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Sigils are awesome. You can never suck at them. She Walks in Beauty, listening in the background, and She Walks in Beauty is. I like people's names. Why do I not know She Walks in Beauty's name? She Walks in Beauty. If you'd care to say your name, let me know. Aiden says tomorrow is my yearly exorcism. Congratulations. I'm glad you scheduled this. And the other thing is that would be a perfect time to do some sigil work. And
I think every
Margel,
time is a perfect time for sigil work.
I don't think there's a bad time for sigil work, to be honest with you.
Oh, I use sigils for literally everything.
Yes. Marge L has asked a question, and I think we should just answer this. Are sigils like runes? No, because runes is a separate system and it's a language, correct, Chris? Correct,
It's
Zane?
alphabet, yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
alphabet.
Yep.
What you may be thinking of are things called bind runes, where you layer different runes on top of each other to create a different symbol. And I don't know if we're going to we'll have enough time to talk about that. However,
One of the
go
things I have
ahead.
to show is about bind runes. So
Okay, good.
I would say runes aren't technically sigils, but sigils aren't just like a separate tradition or system. It's pretty wide open. So any symbol you're using for a magical purpose is technically a sigil. So I use runes and bind runes all the time, just like I use sigils. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a magical
Yes.
language that I already know, so I can put that together in a sigil or a bind rune. And yeah,
Yes.
so technically not sigils, but technically, I guess technically
And
not, but technically yes. It's a both and situation. But yeah, there's a whole separate system for runes.
that is an example of overcomplicator. However, that being said, I think when you can layer as many things as possible into your magical work, do it. So long as it does not prevent you from completing the work and you don't lose track of it and that those layers connect.
Mhm.
So, Deb H says, I overcomplicate almost everything. Okay, we'll press pause with that. Jane the Seeker's on a Zoom and we'll watch the replay. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up. Kristen Louise said sigils are designs that have magical meaning imbued in them. Yes. Lease, that's right, lease. Thank you. Okay, and you can make rune staves. It looks like Chris is driving the bus with boys in the back misbehaving. It's a big, oh, geez. And Jonathan Daly says Emily Carding uses their transparent tarot to make their runes. Well, I did not pay him to say that. However, tomorrow, Ange and I are doing a deck casual for the transparent tarot. Look, there is always a chance to do this for a transparent tarot, and that is tomorrow. You trust me, you want to do this because we're going to have so much fun. And well, hello, Karen. How are you? Glad to see you. And Rosemary is here from Good Journeys Tarot, and this is lovely. So okay. So let's go to our first question, shall we? If I can get there. Um, oh wow. Okay, I'm going to remove
Can
that.
I add one more thing about sigils as opposed to runes real quick?
Absolutely.
Sorry, it's something that just popped into my head.
No,
I
please.
I tend to think of runes as like a, I don't want to say limiting because that's not necessarily what I mean, but as a set system, like runes are runes, whereas sigils you craft around any specific intention that you're using them for. So the possibilities of what a rune or a sigil can look like are endless, but runes are
Yes.
a set form and a set system.
Yes.
I would
And
say, just as a piece of practical advice, not to overcomplicate things. If you are not already into runes, just do the sigil stuff. If you are into runes, you can easily transfer that into use. So.
yes. And I appreciate what you said, Zane, because um, it can be, you can use anything for it. And I was actually looking at this book, Rebel Witch by Kellyanne Maddox. And this is not linked below, but purchase responsibly, know your limits. But in this book, Rebel Witch, Kellyanne talks about, there's a section in here called Sigil Magic. And I just want to read a little bit of it. And again, this is Kellyanne Maddox. Rebel Witch. A sigil is a symbol that's created to represent a desire. Essentially, it's the logo of your desire. Each sigil is uniquely assigned to the aim you want to achieve at the time. You can make a sigil by writing out your desire in a full sentence on a piece of paper, taking out all the vowels and repeating consonants and all of that stuff. But it's also they say you can make an audio sigil. You can create a dance routine as your sigil, or use emojis and things like that. So how you create it and the intention is what's important. So so I wanted to share that. Oh, and I'm also going to share because there are multiple books out there. Zane, you have one, which is The Weaving Fate.
Yeah.
I recommend both of his books to anybody just starting out in magic or who've been practicing it forever. They are excellent. Yeah, good.
And this is the first book. So Six Ways and Weaving Fate are about specifically working with sigils. Here is another, I'm going to embiggen me like that. There is another book, it's called Practical Sigil Magic, and there is the author. This one is very easy to read, very informative, has examples of sigils in it.
I haven't read that one, but I've read just snippets of some of his stuff, and he's really good. He's a really good
Mhm.
writer.
And there is another series of books. It's called Fundamental Book of Sigil Magic by K.P. Theodore. There are 2 volumes of it. And I'll share this last one later because it has some examples of stuff we can use. I'm going to catch up on chat. I'm going to do this. Hold on. So, okay. So what is important is intent, not the form or media.
I would say
Yeah.
the intent is always crucial for any magic working,
Mm-hmm.
and the form and media is only important because it's important to you. So yes, the form or media isn't important to everyone else, but that's going to be important to you,
Mm-hmm.
how you want to do your sigil, what you want to make it from, if you're going to keep it later, if you're going to, that or whatever you're going to do. So that's where it becomes personal in your own creativity and practice. So.
Yes. Yes. And I'm looking forward to the transparent tarot deck casual as well. Hi, Tarot Living with Manasa. And of course, uh, Robin is being funny. I think we'll see right through that, the transparent tarot. Um, so, and you're here. That's what's important, Liz.
Oh
So
look, we got
that's.
Tarot Token Witchery and Tarot Witchery.
Did you two plan this?
I'd like to say yes, but no.
Okay. Oh, and Lise got their copy of the book, and yesterday, Courtney, okay, yes, took the transparent. Do we know where the word sigil came from? Yes, I remember, but I don't remember.
It came from the Latin word sigillum, which was basically for symbols that they used for all different kinds of purposes, but that's where the word itself came from.
So
I would guess it has some root with the word sign too. Like those probably have a similar root.
and by the way, Zane knows Latin, so there. Snap.
I mean, I studied 3 years of it, 3 or 4 years of it, but I wouldn't probably be able to keep up anymore.
Deb asked a good question. Have we ever seen Zane and April in a room together? No. So, okay. So let's look at what's a sigil. Zane, what is a sigil and where do they come from? And we sort of talked about that. So do what you would like to with that, sir.
Okay, I have some notes in front of me, so if you see me looking down, that's why. But
and I'm going to embiggen you and
okay.
trying with that because people like to see your smiling face. Well, I do. You're fuzzy right now, but you know, I can do
Am
that.
I?
To me, my eyes,
Oh,
my
oh,
eyes.
that's right,
I
that's
was
right.
trying to be funny. Sorry.
I forgot momentarily. Sorry. That's how my brain works. Okay, so what I wrote down for what a sigil is to me, I just said it's a magical tool created by turning an intention into a symbolic representation of itself. And as far as where they come from, I wasn't sure, is this meant like where do they originate from, or like where do they come from and like how do you make them?
What's the history of them for you? How did you come across them? We'll do it that way.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, oh gosh. I honestly think I probably just came across them in some books that I was reading and
Mm-hmm.
just thought it was really interesting. So I gave it a Google and just started like researching it. And
Yes.
I quickly fell in love with it because, like I mentioned before, the possibilities are kind of like endless. Like, once you get tapped into like a good spot and you're like super able to focus and get in that creative zone, sometimes they just like pour out of me and like the ideas come for like different intentions and I just write them all down in a list and then I'll just go through and I'll just start creating one after the
Mm-hmm.
other. And then sometimes I will say I'll have every intention of doing it and I sit down and I just can't get in the zone. So I have to stop and come back when I'm in the right headspace. But it originated just from seeing them in a book, I think, and just researching them, putting in the time to
Beautiful.
like make sure I wasn't doing anything dangerous by just whipping up sigils and
Right. Yes.
going from there. And it's just evolved over time from there.
Wonderful. Tara Living with Manasa said your background is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So, Chris, I'm going to put you in the hot seat to give us an answer to that.
Well, I actually didn't get into specific sigil magic work until about 4 years ago, but
Mm-hmm.
I've been using runes magically for God, 20 years or more. That was an easy transfer for me, but I was just digging into chaos magic roots and stuff, and discovered, oh wow, people are like really doing cool stuff with these things called sigils, and but historically, sigils were specific symbols for spirits or demons off of the grimoires in the spirit list, or represented a deity or a way to contact those kinds of
Mm-hmm.
spirits. And so there are very specific sigils out there still for very specific
Yes.
spirits. But Austin Osman Spare, uh, kind of the originator of chaos magic thought, um, he took all of that and like just put it in his head. It's like these are symbols. It has a he was very much into the psychological aspect of magic. So why can't we
Mm-hmm.
just like make our own sigils with their own magical intent and do it that way? And that's sort of where modern sigil work has originated from, and it has branched and blossomed, and people are doing all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
cool shit with it.
Yes. Yes. So, hi, April. Thank you for being here. I am going to put myself in that spot. And so a sigil for me, it's basically it's some sort of a seal or it's a monogram of thought and intent. And I did a little bit of research, and sigils showed up in the Stone Ages. We saw sigils back then. We don't know what they mean. We can guess. And in the medieval times, in medieval times, um, Lesser Key of Solomon was coming to fruition, and there were a lot of sigils, as Chris said, to mark and to call specific spirits or entities in order to work with them and to control them. So, hi, Valerie S. Thank you for being here. Okay, so anything else left with that from
I
what
would
we've
just
said?
say, as far as humans have been able to write or scratch in sand, we've been making sigils. And you mentioned the um, prehistoric symbols. I mean, the cave walls in France. Those are
Yep.
they assumed they were to have a good hunt, but also it was probably worship and transfer of energy back and forth between deity. But yeah, that's a sigil.
Hmm.
That's a sigil. And one of the oldest sigils we have is this really simple one. I don't know if that will show up.
I'm going to embiggen you.
I don't think. Yeah, there we go.
Yep. There you
The
go.
cross symbol is
Hmm.
ancient, and it has all kinds of meanings today, and who knows what it meant back then and over time. But it's still a powerful symbol. It's still a very powerful sigil.
Yes.
But modern, everyone knows this
Oh, hang on. Putting you back. There you go.
company
Hmm.
logo. This is specifically a bind rune, actually. This is Burka and
Yeah.
Gebo and maybe two Wunjos. I'm not sure if that was the intent or not, but this is a sigil, absolutely. But you know, so is that.
Hmm.
All the company logos, those are sigils. Ad companies learned a long time ago the power of sigil making.
Yes. And that's a really important thing. I think in if we look at many spiritual paths, there are types of symbols that are repetitive, and those could be considered sigils because of the power and the intent that we have around them. So, um,
Oh, and I wore this hat specifically today because there's another sigil.
uh, because of
The
Nike,
swoosh. Yep.
the swoosh. So sigils aren't just made of or based on letters; they pre-exist in modern alphabets. Yes, that is correct. Are the links for the books you shared in the show notes? No, but I can do that afterwards. So, how about the idea of crafting a sigil for the purpose of forgetting it and releasing its magic? This is what my daughter does when working through shadows. Yes, and we will talk about that a little bit later. I will star that if everything doesn't move. So, um, why do you use sigils? I'm going to put you in the hot seat first, Chris. Why do you use sigils, and how do you use them without giving secrets away?
Um, I use a sigil uh, to create, I guess you could say, just like a magical intent, but it makes it a physical thing, and you don't have to like go out and get a whole bunch of ingredients to I still do that too, but sigils are just a really concise way of getting in touch with your, just like, I don't know, to me, it's just like direct contact with what magic is. You are, and the way that I craft mine, I kind of use, I go into, I do a meditative state to even create my sigils. But you are creating a specific, I would say, language, even though it may end up just being one symbol, but it's an entire language that you've built into one symbol for a specific purpose, a unique to you and all the world. And it's really easy to do. It's just really easy.
Yes.
It's good magic. It's good practical magic is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to go next, Zane.
Okay.
And so why do I use sigils? Sigils are, I have difficulty focusing my intention or attention, and sigils are a great way for me to, as I meditate and as I build energy, it gives me something that is a focus. And so, and for me, it's the creating the sigil and researching it is building the energy up. And so I am very intentionally figuring out what it is that I want to do, what sort of magic, and then building that up. And so it gets more energy. Um, Ultimately, I use them. I use them for multiple reasons, and I have two show and tells that I can share. And in my coven, we create them as a group in circle, which creates a safe and sacred place for that to happen. I will do sigils. I'll do sigils on windows, on mirrors. I'll do them anywhere that I can draw something, whether or not it be permanent or it be temporary, it doesn't matter. And so ultimately, I want that energy and that intention to be triggered if I see that symbol later, or if I've released it, I've released it. So okay.
Yeah, I think just a couple of things to comment on there. A good way to look at a sigil, maybe to compare it to like a sand painting that Buddhist monks do, because the entire process can take hours and hours and hours, but each step of the process is designed around a prayer, a blessing, and then when it's done, of course, they scoop it up into a bag and they go put it into the nearest creek and release that. And so it's
Yes.
a temporary creation for something that you're putting into, the ether, however you couch those terms, to come back
Yes.
to you. But you also mentioned sometimes it's something that every time you see it, it'll trigger, recharges it for you, or it may be one that you have just released and you're done with it. So there's kind of two ways. You can make a charm out of it, like you described, or it can just be the magic's done. It's on its way, and you don't ever have to think about it again. So
Yes.
Those are two good points.
I'm going to put you there, Zane, so we can find out from you. And I'm going to answer Robin's question. Do sigils created for the same purposes look different by different people? Yes, depending upon the system that they have used to create it. So.
Absolutely.
Okay. Zane, you're up.
Okay, so as far as why I use sigils, first of all, they let me be creative with my magic. I get to tap into my creativity, and I love anything that lets me do that. Like I mentioned before, they can be used for pretty much everything, so they're super versatile, so that's a huge draw for me. And honestly, once I got into the practice of sigil crafting, it just kind of like really vibed with me, and really like I connected to the whole process on a really deep level. So it's something that just feels right for me, and feels like quickly became something that I wanted to incorporate into my like regular practice. So it just like really feels right to me on a deep level.
I love that.
And as far as how I use them, I took some notes on this because I use them in so many different ways. I use them for like all different kinds of spell work. Obviously, you can carve them into candles, stuff like that. Burn them for release and spell work, like was mentioned already. Traced on doors, windows, walls, stuff like that for protection, or anything involving like an intent for a space.
Yes.
And I use sometimes oils for that, like to mark the sigils on the windows or the doors. I'll use different oil blends
Mm-hmm.
for things like protection and all that. I use them for altar adornments for different times of year.
Very nice.
And kind of like how you would use, like, a lot of people use altar cards, like with different images and stuff. I'll use sigil cards that I make. And one of my favorite things to do actually is to use sigils in glamour magic. And so, like, I have like one, I'll share this. This is like one of my favorite practices to do. I have a highlighter that I like to use, like under my eyes or on my
Mm-hmm.
cheekbones. And I have a sigil that I created. I won't say what the exact intention behind it was, but I trace it into the highlighter with my finger and then apply the highlighter with my finger to my face.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a form of glamour magic that I really enjoy. So those are the main
Beautiful.
ways that I use sigils.
Thank you. There's that's wonderful. And okay, so I'm going to hide that and look at some of the comments if I can. Um, do sigil, okay. Yes, but and to release it, sigils are very calming for Kristen Louise. Jonathan likes them. They're temporary. It's an easy way for to project magic into a place and groove it. Um, and
Um,
do any of you have that deck? I do not.
I do not either.
Never heard of
What
it.
we
I'll have to look it
what
up though.
yeah, what were you gonna say, Zane?
I just wanted to add something to what Kristen said about
Uh-huh.
how it's hard for her to like forget about something or just release it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to point out that sigils don't you don't necessarily have to burn it or release it. Like I said, I have that glamour sigil that a lot of my sigils I keep a record of and I will reuse them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously there's certain spell work where the whole intention behind the sigil is for it to be burned and released. But I have sigils that I use regularly that I like use the same sigil over and over, like my glamour sigil that I created.
I do as well. I do as well. Thank
And
you
it's
for
all
that.
about intention. So if
Yes,
you don't have the intention to burn it and release it, don't do it.
exactly. You do you. Um, all right. Everybody got a chance to do that. And this is where we have how do you create sigils? A short explanation. We'll try that. And Kristen Louise said that's good to know. Thank you, Zane.
Absolutely. Sorry,
So
I'm writing down that deck that
it may
Robin
be helpful
Yes.
mentioned.
to just describe how Austin Osman Spare started it, because that's sort of the basic modern kind of sigil, I guess, technique. But then it, how we all do it would be a good follow up to that. So
Do you
just for
want to
people who
start
are
with that one,
starting,
Chris?
yeah,
Okay,
because for
I'm going to
people just
put you
starting out
there.
with sigils too, they might want to just try Spare's technique, or at least you get the basics of it. So what he would do is write down a statement of intent. And the way you frame that is important to me. And if we have time for that, I'll talk about that later because it's another good little magic tip, not just for sigils. But your statement of intent. And then I can't remember if he crosses out all the repeating letters or if he does all the consonants. But
I
you
think he
basically write
starts with
out things that anything that's repeating. So you narrow it down to just like, a few letters. And
hmm
then you take those letters and you somehow creatively combine all those letters together into a symbol. So that's where the fun creative part comes from, because that can look any way you want it to look.
hmm
Some people just scratch it out real quick and that's their sigil. And other people like me, I go through drafts until I get something that's really pretty that I like. And then you fire it, launch it, activate it, what other terms you want to use for that. And there's all kinds of different ways to do that. I think Austin Osman Spare would just write the symbol down, turn it, write it again, turn it, write it again until he's just sort of in a meditative state. You can't even recognize the symbol anymore, and you've transferred, chaos magic. They call it reaching a state of gnosis. And
hmm
the old standby for chaos magicians was to masturbate, and at the moment of climax, take a look at your symbol. I don't know any magician worth their salt today that actually just does that anymore. Because there's a lot more. I would say easier, but a lot magically more effective ways of doing that than just masturbating over a squiggly line on paper.
Okay. So that being said, there is in this book, actually in all of the books, there are different examples of going about and creating the sigils. So but yeah. So yes, the recommendations are getting saucy. So welcome to Tarot Stash, and welcome to Chris, Barely Balanced Tarot, and now Zane is involved. So, poor guy just sitting there quiet and all that good stuff. So,
I'm just taking it all in.
He's so innocent. He's so innocent.
I wouldn't go that
yes.
far.
Yeah. Deb H said, "I do it if I want to be seen. I naturally hide or am hidden, but I can make myself visible when I want." I think that related to something else above.
Probably the glamour discussion, maybe.
Yes.
Oh, could be.
Yes. So, and so this book has some nice examples of it, and as does this one. So, so they're quite good. Zane, do you have some examples? I'm going to put you in the hot spot.
Yes.
There you go.
And do you want me to talk about how I make mine, or?
Yeah, I think we need a round of how each of us actually do ours. That was just here's how it started.
Oh, did you want to continue with yours, Chris, and then I'll go?
No, I'll go last since I opened
that. Zane, I'm going to make him wait.
Okay, that works. I'm just trying to be
patient.
I'm trying to build the tension for him, so it's exciting when he releases it.
Gotcha. Okay, so the way that so I use 3 different ways, but I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. They all start the same way. I write out my statement of intent, and as Chris was saying, I remove all the double consonants and all the repeated consonants so that they're only there once, and I take out all the vowels. And then the 3 different ways that I use what I'm left with, those consonants, is I either, like he said, just take those letters and form them around into some kind of symbol together. The main way that I've been using lately is I will break the letters down into lines, that all the different line forms that make up the letters. So a vertical line, a horizontal line, both diagonals, and then a C shape, and then like a capital D shape that goes that way, the 2 that like would make up a circle. And then I count how many of each of those line forms make up those letters, write those numbers down, and then use the number of lines that I've come up with to build my sigil, if that makes sense. That's you can see on my channel, I have several videos where that's the main way that I do it. And then the third way that I've seen and I've done, but it's not my favorite way to do it, I actually brought an example. You can use a sigil wheel. And on the other side, I did just like a quick statement of intent with and showed you how you do it. You start usually with an open circle, this side, and then go from there. And at the end, you use, where is the closed circle? There's a closed circle to finish it off. It's hard to see on there.
There you go. How's that?
And you draw lines from letter to letter in the order that you've gotten them from your statement of intention. And then I just drew what it would look like at the bottom there without being in the chart. So sometimes that's a lot.
Some beautiful sigils. I said that will make some beautiful sigils. I love that.
Yeah, and so that's one way I was going to suggest to somebody who has maybe a little bit harder time combining the different letters into their own symbols. This is a pretty straightforward way where it kind of takes some of the responsibility out of your hands, and you can just kind of go with the chart that's in front of you. And so it can make it a little bit less intimidating and a little bit easier, in my opinion and in my experience. And yeah, those are the 3 ways that I've used to create sigils.
I like your technique of deconstructing the letters down to their individual lines and shapes and then using those. I might try that. I like it.
Yeah, that's my favorite way that I've been using pretty much for all of my sigils lately.
Yes. Chris, I'm going to flip you over here and put you in the hot seat. Tarot Living with Manasa asks, how do I phrase the statement of intent? You phrase it as an active thing, as if you've already achieved it.
Hmm.
I
I have,
am. I am statements are really helpful.
yeah,
So,
that's one of the things one of the tips I wanted to talk about too. And this isn't just for sigils. This is for all magical intentions. A couple of years ago, a good friend of mine, he's also into chaos magic. He was reading a book, and it was about stating your intention. So the usual way of stating your intention is to state it as a fact that's already happened. I will have a new car. I have a new car by June. Um, but this technique had you turn your intent into a question, so that then the universe is answering that question by showing you how it comes
mm,
about. So how did I get a new car in June? That's how I
mm,
do my intention for all magic now, but especially my sigil work, because then it's already inviting the universe to play with you, and then you build
sure.
your sigil around that, and you launch it, and then you wait for the story to pan out. How did I get a new car in June?
I
And
like that.
actually, yeah, I like that too. And I wrote down statement of intent, and perhaps that could be another magic tool talk
That would be a good
statement
one.
of intent.
Yeah.
So I've got that written down. So perfect. And okay, so how do you create sigils? A short explanation.
All right, so I do it a couple of different ways too. I stopped doing the cross out letters thing a while back, because I always ended up with just too many letters to work with, and I wanted things pared down even more. So the first thing I do, if it's something very, very specific, I'll probably go to my runes first and pull out at least 3 runes to put into a bind rune, and that's my sigil work.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's something more general or something that I just kind of like, I'm wanting to kind of shift the tide of things, I will, I'll write out my essential question. I call it now my statement of intent as an essential question. And then I will just sit with that with several sheets of blank paper and just go into a kind of a meditative state and try to um, cultivate the emotions I will feel when that thing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then while I'm in that state, I just start doodling a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll put another sheet of paper on top, and I will leave out the things I didn't like the first time, and so I just kind of keep editing until I get something that looks really pretty and magical to me. That's all. It just needs to inspire your little kid, to give you that joy. To me, the whole process should be joyful, joyful, joyful.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, um, but yeah, so I just kind of sit with those sensations of what it will feel like, and just let that kind of guide me into a symbol that then sort of crystallizes those, and then I use that for my sigil. But that's the two main ways that I go
Mm-hmm.
about it now.
Yeah. And April said, that's yes, Chris, that's more my way. And catching up on chat, Medieval Sigils is on there. Okay, so I have a couple of other things highlighted. I'm going to put myself in there because I oftentimes do the pictorial method to where I think of or I work on a phrase that is very clear with my intention. And this book, The Adventures of a Magis, I don't know. I bought this on Amazon. I do not know if it's still available, but it has a lot of cheat sheets because what I will oftentimes do is, it gives like down here, it actually gives the um, different cheat sheets, the magic squares, and it actually talks about choose a magic square that corresponds to your affirmation or spell, and then it takes you through the process of what it looks like. But there are a lot of different um, squares that you can use, and Zane had circles. I believe that called the witch's circle, I believe. The witch's
Um,
wheel.
that sounds familiar. Yeah, I always just call it a sigil wheel, but that does
Okay.
sound familiar to me.
Yeah. And so the whole idea of that is and then with full intention and how I am feeling about it, I will, in that space, like Chris had talked about, how is it going to feel when I achieve this, and hold that. By the way, something like this is a light board, is a really helpful thing if you're tracing onto a thicker paper, so that you can have your sigil square on that. So, okay, it is still available, but there's Adventures of a Magus is still in print. Thank you. It's like affirmations, yes, affirmations. So, um, ooh, I got rid of comments. Sorry, now I couldn't see. I'm gonna put you all back because I like this better. Um, so and then with creating the sigil, I also have to figure out what form it is going to take. Is it a temporary form where I'm going to inscribe it on paper? Am I going to inscribe it on wood that will be burned? Is it going to be on a candle? Those are types of things that are important as well. So, um, yes, Robin, does anyone draw their sigils in the air with their wand after creating them? Uh, I have, yes.
I haven't
Well, I
personally, but I know that's a common practice.
yeah,
Hmm.
I haven't with sigils. I do with runes a lot. So
Okay. Um, Deb H said, I think you missed this, so I'm going to ask again. What do you think about community sigils? For instance, like the ones Tempest Zakoff crafts in workshops, then shares globally. If it feels right to you, great. Not all sigils are private.
mhm.
Right. And if it's created with the intention of being for a group of people or used on a large scale, then I feel like that's a good thing. I mean, if that intention
Yeah.
went into it, then absolutely.
I think that's an
Yes.
interesting question because pretty much all of my sigil work has been personal, um,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not usually ones that I keep around. If I do protection or stuff like that, I use symbols that I already use, um, such as runes and stuff. But I do have one. It'll be in the pictures when you show them later, so I'll discuss it then. But I created a bind rune as a sigil for a friend of mine that needed some protection, but it involved several of us in the creation of that and the launching of that and the birthing of it actually. So in the creation of it, I sort of built in the intention that every time that your sigil is used or shared, it actually grows in power backwards in time even. So it's a pretty
Correct.
potent bind rune, and so it only gets more stronger as more people use it and share it. So yeah, that's the only time
Yeah.
I've ever done something like that.
That's incredible. And I'm going to jump a little bit because I want to end with the show and tell.
All right.
And um, we were talking about this before we went live. What advice do you have for someone wanting to begin working with sigils?
Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, I had be concise and intentional with your words and don't force it.
Very true. I would also add, make sure your intention is clear. And I have right here, I have 5 books. You don't need 5 books. The
Yeah, I
internet
would
has
say
some useful things. Pick one. Does it feel right to you? Then use it.
yeah.
Then do it. Do
I'll
it multiple
I'll
times.
I'll say I don't have a single sigil book. I have some books that have sigils in them, sigil practice in them. But yeah, it's to me just one of the things. Once you learn like the basics of how to do it, like your own creativity, just you go with it.
Yeah, I
Yes.
got this more for the purpose of just like kind of knowing more of like the background of sigils and kind of like
Hmm.
how other people use them. But I only got this a couple months ago and I've been using sigil
Yeah,
magic for years and years now. So I mean,
and those two books go into a lot more than just sigils, but he does like the symbols on the front. He'll explain where those come from and why. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Calla Lily Liz said, I'm a pack rat. I'm gonna need all the books. You don't need all of the books. You want all of the books. And by the way, purchase responsibly. Know your limits. I am not judging you as somebody who has all sorts of books. And Robin said, it seems sigils are not meant to communicate with other individuals, but rather with energy in the cosmos.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would
Yeah.
agree with that.
I would never be able to look at one of Zane's sigils and tell you what the heck it was for. And nobody
Right.
would be able to do that with mine unless I told you. So yeah, that's I mentioned that earlier. That's one of the reasons I like it. Like you are creating a very personal symbol between you and the universe. Like that's pretty cool.
Yes. And you're right. Some sigils are private and they're supposed to be kept private. And if somebody shares that with you, consider it a privilege and shut up about it. Keep your mouth shut. So, okay. And okay. Calla Lily asked, what are sigils? Which I think we answered that one. Calla, I hope that helps.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that a little bit more. That there are runes, which is a magical alphabet, but was also just an alphabet. There's the Enochian alphabet that John Dee came up with, which is totally made up, but it's a magical alphabet that a lot of people use. And when I say made up, I'm not saying I'm not judging that. I'm just saying, look, all the shit we do has been made up. So just that's the source of where Enochian comes from. Dee sort of invented it or created it with the angels he was scrying with. But there's also geomancy, which isn't technically, it's not a language, but it's a symbol set. But you don't even have to know anything about any of those. You can pull up online anywhere, like the phonetic equivalent to all of those. And if you just wanted to once you condense your intent down to the few consonants that are left, you could just plug in those letters with Enochian and combine that into a really cool symbol too. It doesn't matter that the symbol translates the information that you've built it for. It matters that it's been created for that purpose. So
Yes.
the further you can remove sort of the symbol, this is one of the things about thinking about sigils, the further you can remove it from your conscious language, the more you're putting it into your subconscious or into the universe as something unique and new. And you don't have to be able to look at it and say, there's the D and there's the S. It doesn't matter what the end product is as long as it works for you and it's, for you, you like it and you're going to use it.
And I actually think if personally, if it's beautiful and it has an emotive impact on you, that is a powerful rune. And it doesn't it can be straight lines, it can be flowy, it can be three-dimensional, it's whatever. It's what works for you and to match your intent. So, okay, so Calla Lily said, I imagine them sort of runes, which they're different. And the runes have different history, which actually I'm wondering if maybe, Chris, we do something about runes. Maybe I was thinking about that for a Laugh and Learn series. If somebody knows an expert about runes, means they've used it for a long time and are good at it, have them contact me.
Well, I would not call myself an expert or anything, but I have used the runes for a while, so
Sure.
I'll volunteer as tribute. Maybe we can get someone else to come in too.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see. I'm not discounting you, Chris. So you know that. So Liz, I hope we answered your question. Deb H, how do you create your sigils? I think we each shared a little bit of thing. I would recommend Zane's videos below. You can also, yes, I think they're really great, and sometimes I can feel energy around what you're creating. I don't know
That
what
makes me happy.
I don't know what the purpose is behind that sigil, but it just feels really good. So, tips for a person who struggles with creating them: keep it simple.
try different methods. You might find one that works super well for you, whereas one other way confused you or just didn't inspire you.
And I
Yes.
would say this, but I think this is a repeating refrain for me every time we talk. Um, Go ahead and look at what your own talents are. Like, what is it you like to do? Because sigils can be anything, really can be anything. I know a lot of you do like crochet and what's the other thing with the needles and the yarn?
Knitting.
Knitting,
Knitting.
yes. You could, I mean, you could knit, or I don't know anything about that. So
This is the laughter part of this, Chris.
I would be wood burning or watercoloring. I don't do the yarn stuff, but people that do, I've recommended. I think it's maybe on a previous show, but you can build a.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
you just went quiet, Chris. We can't hear you. Can't hear you. That wasn't me.
Now I'm back.
Now you're
My
Yes.
phone
back.
call came
Okay.
through. I don't know if how far I dropped off, but like you're already using a repeating pattern anyway. You don't have to invent one. Just put your intention into that pattern, and you have a whole little
Exactly.
magical garment or whatever you do
You
with
got
those.
it. So you can put it on a candle, which will burn down. You can sometimes I will put sigils on bay leaves and I will burn them. So wow, this is
Man
bizarre.
down, man down.
Sorry, hold on.
Yeah. Okay. So like Zane, you have the one that you use when you put stuff under your eyes.
Hmm.
And it's pretty incredible what you can use. So
Absolutely.
I hope that helps, Deb H. I'm going to pop back with the magic is so personal. It's okay to do it your way. Yes. And okay. Yes, it did. Good. Thank you. Robin asked, I'm wondering about the relationship between sigils and symbols. Anyone care to weigh in? And yes, I know we have an echo, and it's coming from Chris because of his technology. I'm going to mute you, Chris. Don't take it personally. There you go. So when we need Chris to talk, we'll go like this. This is so powerful to be able to mute Chris. Whoa. I should get my tiny hands out. Is he frozen? No,
I
he's
don't
not
think so. I
frozen.
think he's
Okay.
just focusing on what he's
Okay,
doing.
he's just focusing on what he's doing. Okay.
A call
And
came in and it threw everything out because it's connected to like all kinds of space equipment in my car. I don't even know how to use. I had them on it. Sorry. I think I got it
okay.
working.
And by the way, Chris, we are going to need to do a talk about setting intention.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of people who would like to see that. So back to Robin's idea, relationship between sigils and symbols. I'm going to take a quick stab at this. Yes, they can be one and the same, and I think the difference between a symbol and a sigil is the intent that you put into it.
Right.
I would
So
say all sigils are symbols, but not all symbols are sigils.
I would
say
agree
that
with that.
again.
All sigils are symbols, but not all symbols are sigils.
Yes. Yeah, Robin said I used to draw images in flammable liquids, then fire them. Yes.
That would be an awesome end to a ritual. Yes, that would be fantastic.
Yes.
I might use that now that you...
Yeah. Did you notice how suddenly Chris's energy went, oh, wow.
I love
Fire.
Yeah.
my
I
my
painted
my
the
last my last big ritual I did on New Year's Eve. I was exiting the cemetery at 12 midnight. So I got to finish my ritual and leave while there were fireworks in the air, and that was pretty awesome.
Oh, that is
Mhm.
awesome.
Rosemary, Good Journeys Tarot said, I painted the last one on a rock to carry with me. Excellent. By April.
Bye, April.
Yeah, setting intention. We gotcha. You can write sigils on the bottom of your shoes for protection and all that. Yes. Let's do some show and tell. I'm going to flip Chris and put him here. I'm going to put Zane up there. And Chris, I'm going to pop through some of your things. We are at an hour and 5 minutes, so if you want to skip one, let me know.
Yeah, some of them are just for example. I might not really talk about them, but I just want to
Okay.
talk about the creation and how they were launched, maybe.
Okay. And this one, do you want to talk about that one quickly?
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. For Yule, I always do like a big ritual to set my intentions for the whole year. And if you'll flip to the next one, I think the next slide, maybe.
Is it
Nope.
that one?
No. Yeah, go back. Just go back. Sorry. There'll be a
Or
slide
this
that
one?
shows. That's it. That's it. Yes, that's on the back of that. That was my intention for Yule a few years ago. So I used red and Kinas for forging and curiosity, and I used Wunjo in the color orange for joy, and green in the rune Anzus for magic. And then I put that together. I don't know if you can flip back to the other one.
That one?
into that bind rune with those colors. So again, it doesn't have to be fancy or pretty. Your intention and the emotions that you do while you are creating or firing or launching it, that's what's important. So that was that one.
We have this one.
That was one that the creation of that was the way I described, the second way I do it, or just kind of go into a meditative, not a trance. I mean, it's not like, I'm not spending 20 minutes. I'm just taking 5 minutes to calm down but to kind of immerse myself in the emotions and the feeling of what it is that I want to happen, and then just start doodling a little bit. And then I'll go through several edits of that until I get something that I really, really like.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will transfer that to the paper or whatever I'm going to use I burn most of mine. Me and my cauldron, I like to burn things. So I usually burn mine, but sometimes I'll put them on a special piece of paper or do it as watercolor. That I just kind of folded it in lots of interesting designs and unfolded it.
I see that. Yes. Okay. How about this one?
That was another one that was created the exact same way. I had some fancy like stationery paper that I did that one on. But again, that's probably after like, I don't know, 6 or 7 different quick little drafts and edits for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I will transfer that carefully onto and make it pretty onto the final thing before I fire it.
Mm-hmm. So okay, and this one?
And that one, you'll see in a minute. You'll see my cauldron on top of a piece of paper that has those runes on it as well. That's when I was talking about my friend. She needed some just like general protection. She knew some
that
stuff.
One?
Yep, that one. Some stuff might be coming her way. But like 3 or 4 of us were involved in we were all putting some magic and intent into her protection, but I kind of anchored it all in that particular bind rune.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one, if people want to take a snapshot of that and use it, feel free, because that is free for the world. And like I said, when it was created, I sourced the energy.
Are you sure
for that
that's
rune.
okay, Chris?
Yes,
Are you sure that's okay?
Absolutely okay. Please use that
rune.
Please use that bind rune. I sourced the magic in all of the future times it would be used by anybody, so that even when we used it then, it contained all the oomph for that, and every time it's used, it's just gonna get stronger. So yeah, please, it wants to be used. It gave me a name.
Okay.
Yulstrom is its name. And that is an example of a sigil when you have no paper, no pen, and not even some sand and a stick. That was nice. Fort Lauderdale last year. I was on a trip with a guy that flipped out on me, so I packed up and left the hotel room with no money, nowhere to sleep, no way to get home. I always carry these objects with me. These are personal fetishes, and they each have very specific spirits that they're attached to. I didn't have anything else to do, so I whipped out those things and put them together in a neat little pattern, especially with that key. I needed some doors open for me quickly.
Sure.
And my little offering of incense, and that was a very, very good piece of magic to come about that weekend.
Okay. And by the way, Chris is an overachiever because he sent me a whole bunch of these things. So I'm going to show this so that everybody sees it. So Zane, you'll have plenty of time So I don't want, I'm not going to let you worry. So what's this, Chris?
All right, so there's a couple of photos to go with that. So that was a ritual out at Big Igloo, and a lot of people know that that's one of my main spots. But this was to kind of reclaim a lot of scattered energy that I'd had. So that's all the candles have been tied together, and but then I buried that, and then on top of it, you can probably go to the next slide or so.
That one?
Yeah, you can go to the other one or go to the next
That
one.
one?
That one goes with the other one. You can skip that. That was the actual creation of the bind rune. That's when that happened.
One?
Yeah. So I covered that all up, and I used birdseed. The symbol in the middle is a geomancy symbol called conjunctio, and it's meant to connect and bring things together. And that's my intent, was to gather all that scattered energy so that I could refocus it and kind of gather it up. So that was connecting and centering things for me. So that's the used as a sigil, but that is a geomancy symbol there for conjunctio.
And so, okay, great.
And that was just part of that.
All right. Wow. This is wonderful. Robin said, Chris, I love that object arrangement sigil. Great idea. So, Zane, would you like to share some?
Absolutely.
I'm going to put you in the hot seat.
I had to start with this one because this was one that I kind of sort of created a little bit as a joke for you, Gerald. It was the good vibes only sigil.
Yes.
This was one for strength that I created for
very nice.
personal strength. This was used in a ritual I did where I wanted to invoke the power of the sun energy.
Ooh.
And as you can see, like a lot of these were created in like different ways there, so they don't all look like they were created using the same method, because like I said, I do switch between different methods. This is an example of like the ones that I create most of the time now, with the breaking down of the letters. And they just look extra magical to me, which I guess is really the main reason that I settled on this one above the other ways. This is one for self-love.
Nice.
And then this one was for strengthening my magic and my intent.
That's cool.
And then Liz said
I need that good vibes only on a mug sigil. See if we can
if you want to go back and copy it down, feel free. All the ones I'm showing now are ones that I keep a record of and reuse, so anybody who wants to use them can. I haven't shown any of the ones that I use for like super personal work. And then this one is for revealing the truth in a situation.
Oh, nice.
And those are all the ones I pulled out.
Robin said those broken letter ones look like images I've seen on shamanic drum heads or from cultures of the Pacific Northwest. I can see that.
Awesome.
They remind me also of Veve's and the voodoo tradition.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to put myself here because I have two to share. And one is the sigil that Jeffrey and I created for our relationship. And we have this as a talisman that I had someone create for us in metal. And this person was very aware of exactly what this was. And he was very comfortable with helping to set the intention. And he paid attention to the moon phase when he created it. So, and that's a combination of our initials. And then I'm just showing this because this is my hairbrush and I have two sigils on the back of that. I'm not telling you what they're for, but every time I brush my hair, I actually put the intention into my head. So
I love that.
Me too. It's a great little thing. So Valerie S said, "Thank you, gents. Wherever you say I am, whatever you say we can use, I'm printing."
Awesome.
Yes, I think that's great. Gerald's sigil of his relationship is a bit loopy. Well, that's true. Um, so I'm going to go through and um, I'm trying to be respectful of everybody's time. So I'm going through. Um, about April said, "How about creating the idea of crafting a sigil for the purpose of forgetting it and releasing it? It's magic. This is what my daughter does." Yes. Um, Tarot Living by Manasa. Stay tuned, like and subscribe. Da 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 da. We are going to do a magic tool talk about setting intention. And April had asked, does anyone just meditate on the issue and wait for the symbols to show themselves, write them down and combine them? That's a great way to create a sigil.
I've not done that specific. My technique's a little kind of that way, but it's a little more like freeform. I'm moving while it happens. But and a lot of my spirit work for the past couple of years, at the end of like contact with a new ally, at the
Mm-hmm.
end I'll get a very clear, very simple symbol that's like, okay, that's my calling card. That's how you can contact me without having to go through all this rigmarole again.
Sure.
You know, I'm on speed dial now, and those have been really really interesting when they come through, because that almost gets into like the whole old historical sigils where they represent specific spirits and things. So that's been a whole that's been an interesting come back to the source sort of contact
Exactly.
experience for me.
Exactly. Jonathan asked a question, and I have very strong opinions about this. Do either of you care to say, has anyone thought about getting a sigil tattoo?
I
Yes.
like the idea, and oh my gosh, so many Zane, so many of yours. I was just when you were flipping through yours, like, oh my god, those make fantastic tattoos.
Well,
But
thank you.
it
Yeah, I
would
have that
depend on
intent
your
for some.
intent. If it's something very personal, you don't want the world to see. But if it's something that you want to have for the rest of your life, I would say go for it.
Okay. Zane, thoughts?
Yes, to all of it. Um, I'm very much a person who is all about getting, um, being very intentional with your tattoos and what you put on your body.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody, you do you, but for me personally, I want everything to be intentional. And what's more intentional than the sigils I've created with a specific intent in mind? And some of them, the way they turn out, I just think they're beautiful, and I have plans to get some of them tattooed on my body. So yes,
Beautiful.
I fully support that idea.
My simple thing about this is, if you do this, pay attention to the person who is doing it, where they are doing it, because you're essentially doing many layers of magic on top of that. It's not just a sigil. It's also could be, you could look at it as blood magic as well.
I was just thinking that.
So the state of the person doing it, the place, um, and so I would use caution about that. Yes, um, and take extra precaution with it. So
It's
Jamie's,
basically a permanent talisman. So being
yes.
cautious of the space weather at the time would be
Hmm.
ideal too, I would think. But
Yeah.
Jonathan, you're in Hawaii, and like a lot of the island cultures, Polynesian cultures, that is an old practice of tattooing symbols
Yes.
on your body. It's an old practice.
Yeah. And Jamie added, where you put it matters. So that's very, very important as well. So yes, know your tattoo artist. And thank you, Tara Living with Manasa. You're welcome, Lisa, for sharing that. And okay. Oh my gosh. Um, all right. So thanks everybody. We are at an hour and 20 minutes. Please thank my guests by liking and subscribing and clicking notifications on their channel for sometime in the future when Chris, Barely Balanced Tarot, actually does a video.
It's been a while.
I mean, I'll come on and do a channel takeover if you
Yeah, I
want.
might do that. I haven't used StreamYard yet, so you'd be a good person to test that on. because you're a very gracious host, and you know all the things, so you can tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Oh, trust me, I will. Aw. So, Zane, what have you got coming up on your channel? Because notice I'm not asking Chris.
So I don't have any specific things planned, but I did just post in the middle of the night last night a new sigil crafting video, and I'm going to try to be a little bit more frequent with those posts. I have an iPad now, so it's really cool. I can record the screen as I'm creating the sigils in an
Yay.
art app, so I can just screen record the whole process as I build the sigils. So I think that's a pretty cool thing that I'm going to be trying for my next couple videos at least. And that's what I did for the most recent one. And other than that, yeah, like I said, no specific things planned, but I'll keep everybody posted if that changes. You'll be the first to know.
There you go. And well, people will be the first to know if they like and subscribe to your channel, which is linked below, as is Chris's.
Well, thank you.
And, you know, I love it. Gerald will break out that fan in a heartbeat. Yes, I will, Chris. I'm not. Yes.
I
Do you
don't
have a fan, Chris?
I do not have a fan. I am so jealous of all your fans.
So, yeah, and you're welcome, Manasa. Thank you. And Robin said, and save for watch later reference. And so, tomorrow, as I mentioned, I am on Jonathan Daly's channel for, and I'll show you mine. And it's a channel takeover. Ooh. You need a sigil, a fan sigil, Chris.
Nice. I like that.
So, and then tomorrow afternoon, late evening here, I am with Ange from Tiny Trinkets and Tarot, and we are doing a deck casual for the Transparent Tarot by Emily Carding. So this will be so much fun. And Friday, Longman Tarot's birthday celebration on my channel. And since you're still here, next week on Monday, I am with Joe from Behind the Veil on Monday, and we're talking about the working towards well-being. So please definitely be here for that.
I have to whip out that good vibes sigil that Zane made for you.
There you go.
No. I'm totally like, I want that on, I want that as a charm, and I want it on a coffee mug. I want it on a beer stein. I want it on a shot glass. So anyhow, thanks, Uncle Badger. You came in at the end. Yes. So, thank you, everyone. Any last minute words, guys?
I just say have fun and be creative. I had already marked down before you read that part at the beginning that sigils could be any dance, gesture, movement, music. I have a chaos magic friend of mine that does synthesizers, and he makes sigils using sound. But this is also, I don't know if you're familiar with Grant Morrison. This is a hyper sigil, the 4 volumes of the Invisibles. Grant Morrison is a popular, well, he's a huge comic book writer now, but he's also has been in the chaos magic scene forever. And that whole series was his artistic project, literally putting himself into it. But he calls it a hyper sigil. If you do like a work of art or an album, like you can make it a hyper sigil. Anything you do can be a sigil. He had to stop writing bad things for the character that represents him in there because he landed himself in the hospital really bad.
Oh, wow.
So,
oh gosh.
So nothing really bad happens to King Mob for the rest of the series after that.
Oh gosh, yeah. And Calla Lily is like, yes, please do the intention thing. Thank you, Kristen Louise. Glad you enjoyed it. And all right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Joel, for having me.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.